Hey, what's up everyone? Sangritan here, and we are back for another episode of Spice for Thought. This is episode 18, part 4, final part on the overview of all the Imperium cards, getting into details on what are the strengths and weaknesses and potential combos for each and every card of the Dune Imperium game. So base game, Immortality and Rise of X, all being covered here. And at the end, we also place all the cards on a matrix where we've already set all the cards from the previous parts as well. So yeah, I would strongly recommend to check for part 1, 2 and 3, which are episodes 15, 16 and 17 respectively. So go check that in the right order so that you probably have a better understanding of where we stand right now for that matrix. Because we have covered already all the cards from persuasion 1 to 4, and now we will cover all the remaining ones from persuasion 5 to 6, 7 and 8, obviously. So yeah, as usual, let me know in the comments what you might be disagreeing with, or what you would have maybe added in terms of potential combos and everything, because obviously I cannot think of everything while doing those videos, so I'd be glad to have your input there as well. And obviously let me know as well for any kind of future episodes, any ideas you might have. I'm always open for suggestions there. So yeah, let's dive in right now. So let's start here with two absolute classics from a base game. We have first Power Play, which obviously leads you to any faction you would like and allows you to gain 2 influence instead of 1, but it is a one-time use card, so you need to trash it after using it. A very strong card. It is basically a victory point wherever you miss your friendship. You can just send that card and not worry about the friendship anymore. It's also a very explosive card because it might allow you to steal an alliance. So yeah, very, very strong. High ceiling, high floor as well, relatively. So it's a good card to have. And the fact it trashes itself is a bit of a double-edged sword, because it's not a card you might want to purchase too early, because you'd rather focus on a bit of deck building, maybe getting higher persuasion in your deck, cards that actually stay there, because this one, obviously, you play it, you trash it, it's done. You still have the same deck as before you bought it, basically. But it is still a very strong card to have nonetheless. And maybe a bit later in the game, once you've already built up your deck to a nice extent, you might not be too worried about getting a card that only has a one-time use to not disrupt further your deck than what it will already by buying one more card. So it is a good card. All in all, I really like it. On the right-hand side, we have one of the absolute goats of the game, obviously, Lady Jessica. Lady Jessica reveals for 3 persuasion and a sword. This is probably the best reveal, or at least one of the best reveals in the game. It also allows you to get 1 influence when you buy it, because why not? So it basically gives you 1 extra action when playing your reveal, when buying that card, because it gives you a bump. So it might be, and often is, worth an early reveal, because it kind of compensates for that lost action thanks to that bump. And it is also very nice to play it because it has all the non-factions plus Bene Gesserit and allows you to draw 2 cards. So to flip through that deck, it is actually very positive as well for Lady Jessica itself, because you draw more cards of your deck, meaning you will reshuffle Lady Jessica earlier in that deck, most likely. Unless obviously you have 0 cards in your deck, 10 cards in your discard, then obviously it would mean you don't reshuffle Lady Jessica in that next reshuffle, which is a bit of a bummer, and then maybe worth thinking, maybe better to reveal her for a Spice Must Throw, if that is an option. But that flexibility she gives you, she's an absolute machine of a card, a very high floor, very high ceiling as well. So yeah, very good card. Typically, if you send it to selective breeding, you basically draw 4 cards. Research Station, in the normal game, that's 5 cards drawn with her, or 4 in Immortality, if you haven't finished your research track. So yeah, very, very strong. Then we have Sardaukar Legion, also base game, costing 5. It is bringing you to Emperor or Landsrat. It gives you 2 troops when you play it, so that can be nice typically if you have a rapid mobilization or something like that. Build up your garrison. If you send that to Conspire, for instance, which also gives you 2 troops, maybe you get the Emperor bonus, which is also 2 troops. So that would be 6 troops all at once recruited in your garrison. If you don't have rapid mobilization, I wouldn't really advise that, but if you do, it's a very nice way to gather a lot of troops quickly. The reveal effect, we've talked about that when talking about negotiated withdrawal in the previous episode. It is a unique effect that allows you to deploy up to 3 troops from your garrison. So that's pretty nice for additional deployment. Kinda compensates for the fact that you might not want to go city or combat space 3 times in those later games. You might need a high council or a technego to also allow yourself a spice must throw. Well, no worries, Sardaukar Legion got you covered. You can deploy an additional 3 troops. It also combos very well with negotiated withdrawal, as we said it before. So yeah, that's some nice combos you can get going with that. Worm Riders has 0 persuasion on reveal, so that's not so great, but it reveals for a number of swords depending on your level of influence with Fremen. If you have the friendship, that's 4 swords. Alliance, you add another 2 swords on top. Can be very strong in a sword oriented deck. Other than that, I don't necessarily recommend it by default, but the spice here is pretty nice, so playing that card is also pretty cool. So it's a nice card to have, definitely. Replacement Eyes from Immortality, very strong card, I like it. The reveal is not outstanding, but what makes it very strong is its effect there. It allows you to basically trash a card to then draw a card, which is always very good because obviously when you graft you use 2 cards on an agent turn, so being able to draw a card helps a bit compensating for that fact, so that's always good. Trashing is always very good as well, obviously, and you can trash itself with that effect to then get a beetle, or you can also obviously just trash whatever, a dagger, draw a card, and then when you need that beetle you could go selective, trash that card from your discard and get that beetle. That works as well, but it is a very strong card for that extra beetle that you might want as well. Satellite Ban is a card that is from Rise of X. Allows you to get some nice access, to be honest, quite unique, having Space Eagle and Fremen on the same when it's not Diplo or power play and whatnot. This is an interesting combo as well. Space Eagle Fremen is an equally unique kind of combination there, and it allows you to basically discard a card. So again, with all those unload effects, you can get some nice combo, and you gain 1 spice and 1 water from that. That is pretty good. The one reason I'm not a huge fan of that card is this reveal is not so strong in terms of persuasion, so it makes its floor maybe a bit weaker than other cards, or than what we could expect from a 5-coster. Then we have Reverend Mother Mohayam. That's a very strong card. Obviously Emperor Bene Gesserit with those accesses as well. And if you have another Bene Gesserit card in play, each opponent discards 2 cards. This is nuts. This is very strong, and combined, for instance, with the Gola, if you play Gola with that card, Gola obviously from the Tleilax row is a card that replicates or has the same agent box as the card you grafted with. So it would take that same agent box. It wouldn't have Bene Gesserit title, so the part of Reverend Mother Mohayam wouldn't work as an effect, but Gola's effect would, because this is a Bene Gesserit card, so you could make everyone discard 2 cards right away. Or even meaner, you play Bene Gesserit first. Everyone should probably be aware that you have Reverend Mother and that you might have her in hand, but if you have Gola with it, you make them all discard 4 cards. If they didn't draw any card, their turn is basically cooked. Nothing left to do. Also a very strong floor because you reveal it for 2 persuasion, very very good, and 2 spice. This is really strong. Tufir Hawat is a very strong card as well. Brings you everywhere except Landsraad. The green spaces you can't, and sometimes, trust me, you wish you could, but it is the only access he doesn't have. So it is a very strong all-round card. You can draw a card when playing it, so that's also pretty practical, and it reveals for only 1 persuasion sadly, but also an intrigue, so it's still a very good card to have, and it compensates that missing persuasion maybe with an intrigue, so can't be too mad at that. Then we have Stilgar. Stilgar costs 5 from the base game, reveals insanely good here with 2 persuasion and 3 swords, so that's really I mean, really good, really versatile because you get both. You don't have to choose. So that's something that makes this card a very strong, with a very high floor, basically. And it goes Fremen, gives you a water, so you could go Hardy, pay back the water directly, or go Still Suits, get 2 water out of that. And yeah, it's just a very good card all in all. Full Scale Assault from Rise of X allows you to buy a Dreadnought right away when buying that card. So that's a very desirable effect, to be honest, because as we said earlier in this series as well, Dreadnought is not a very efficient spot to visit. So getting a Dreadnought without going there, just on your reveal, pretty good. It also allows you to go City or Emperor and recruit 2 troops. So that's basically similar to a Gurney in that regard. Very strong to send that on a city space because you can get a nice deployment. On top of that, reveals for 2 persuasion and 3 swords for each of your dreadnought in the conflict. So it can go up to 6 swords, which is obviously very strong as well. And yeah, a very high floor, pretty high ceiling as well. Good card. Blizzard's Haderach. Probably no need to introduce that card to you guys. A very classical card as well from the base game. Allows you to basically gain 1 more agent turn by sending any of your agent from anywhere to anywhere. Even if it's occupied by yourself, you can send a second agent there and you draw a card. This is very strong. Its only drawback is its costs a lot. It's one off of a Spicemouth Flow, so usually if it's a bit too late in the game, you'd rather go for Spicemouth Flow over that. Probably around round 5 or even round 4, I'd start thinking about maybe going rather Spicemouth Flow, unless you have a very small deck, very high cycling, like a Lady Jessica, like Smuggler Thopter, your Ilban, so your Menta draws you a lot of cards. If you can see this card at least 2 times, then it's probably better than a Spicemouth Flow. If not, probably not. Shai Hulud is probably expensive, probably too expensive for what it is, but it's still a nice card. You can get a trash from buying it, so that can actually be pretty interesting because when you buy that, maybe you can trash unload effect from your discard pile and maybe trigger an additional action just by getting that out on your reveal. So maybe Afraid of Fleet to recall, get a bump, get an alliance, might be a point there. So that could be worth it, to be honest. Just thinking about that, always checking what's in your discard. Another combo, maybe if you have Assassination Mission, that Mosquito, that if you trash it, you get 4 Solari. Let's say you're on 6 or 7 Solari, you have a War Chest as an endgame that if you have 10 more Solari, 10 or more Solari, you would get VP. And if you see the endgame coming, maybe you buy that Assassination Mission, you buy Shah Hulud, you trash the mission with that effect, and you get the Solari immediately. So those are the kind of mechanics you could see coming. Pretty interesting with Shah Hulud. Otherwise, the fact it only has yellow, again, in Immortality is not so great, but the effect is pretty cool. Trashing a card is always good, and getting an additional benefit on top of that, very nice. The reveal, though, a bit weak. Obviously, if you have a Fremen Bone, it's still 5 swords, so in a sword deck, combat-oriented, can be desirable, but it's not as versatile as you might hope for a card that costs 7 persuasion. Then we have Keys to Power. Keys to Power is a nice, versatile card, bringing also a bit of a unique combo of Spacing Guild and Bene Gesserit tags and accesses, plus Landsrat, so brings you to some nice spots. If you have to influence with the Emperor, which to be honest you should have if you want to play it, otherwise you just reveal it. Gives you an additional 2 spice as well, so if you go selective, it reimburses you. If you go tech, well, you get an additional 2 spice for whatever tech you want to buy. If you go Highliner, it reimburses you the third of what you spend. So overall, quite interesting on that. And 2 persuasion is always good, obviously. But you know what is better than 2 persuasion? 3 persuasion, and that's exactly what Pilot of Breeze has. Their card from the base game. He's obviously very versatile thanks to that reveal, but it's also playable because he gives you an intrigue when you play him. He only has City and Landsrat access, so that's not perfect, but it's still a good card all in all to have in your deck, and something I would definitely go for if I have the persuasion. Appropriate. Appropriate from Rise of X, very interesting on purchase effect, giving you a guild shipping bump. That's what I wanted to say. That shipping bump can obviously be very useful in gaining some momentum, being able to use your reveal into getting some more actions done. Always desirable, so very strong card, very strong floor just for that, and for the 2 persuasion on reveal, and really high ceiling as well thanks to that. If you have 2 influence on the Emperor, you can buy a tech with that card. And the unique and very interesting add-on to that is you may use Solari instead of Spice to buy this tech. So if you send appropriate to shipping, you get 2 bumps. Let's assume you go up to the last level to buy a tech for a discount of 2. This tech, you would then be able to buy it for a discount of 2 with your Spice. Let's say it's a troop transport, a memo cord, as a mimic film. It costs you 0 basically. You just buy it. You do that first because it's basically free for you, and then you can buy another tech with appropriate, and this time maybe use Solari. And by recalling, first you buy the tech, you see what pops up behind it. Maybe it's flagship, costs you 8 Solari potentially, or Spice depending on what you want to spend, but it's a VP basically, and you could recall from the track, get 5 Solari from it, so you just have needed another 3 Solaris lying down there, and you could then buy a flagship for Solari. This is crazy though, and getting a VP for 8 Solari, well, it's pretty good. It's obviously a bit more expensive than Chom Shells, the intrigue that allows you to buy as one for 7 Solari, but it might not pop up, so 8 Solari is still a good deal for a VP, definitely. Then we have Embedded Agent. Embedded Agent is a Bene Gesserit card from also Rise of X. Allows to infiltrate Landsrat, so this is very, very good to be able to maybe skip the Swordmaster queue. You basically become a cheap version of Helena with that. So that's very good. And the add-on here, which also makes its ceiling pretty nice, is that if you have another Bene Gesserit card in play, you basically get 2 shipping actions. Very good. The reveal is also nice. 1 persuasion is a bit sad, but it's getting compensated by 1 intrigue as well, so it's similar to, or the same as Thufir Hawat there. Then we have Boundless Ambition. Boundless Ambition is a card, promo card, so you don't see it in the digital game, so I'm just going to go very quickly through it. It has an unload effect that is quite unique, allows you to acquire a card that costs 5 or less, so pretty nice. Gives you access to all the factions and has the Signet Ring ability, so this is super unique because you only have your Signet Ring usually, but this one actually also triggers your ring. Very interesting card. Hope at some point we will get to see it in digital as well. Then we have Esma Twek. Esma Twek is an unload effect for 2 Spice and 2 Solari, so this is pretty nice. It basically gives you Menta money and elective reading money potentially. So this is strong. It also potentially gives you some guild and guild influence and a draw for 1 Spice, so that's pretty cheap. You can send it to Arakin, get a double draw, get a shipping bump. You could also just send it to shipping, for instance, get a shipping bump from the shipping track, and get a spacing guild bump from the shipping track, and get another one here. Double bump might bring you somewhere. So very, very strong card as well. Then we have Opulence, and Opulence is basically the 3rd card that generates VPs from resources. After Sayadina and Guild Ambassador that we've already seen, there comes Opulence, and Opulence trades Solari into victory points. This is very, very strong. Also because early game, it's actually not too bad to send that to Wealth. Gives you basically high council money. Because Wealth gives you 2 Solari, Opulence gives you 3, or if you send it to Conspire somehow, you have 4 Spice lying around, you can do that, and you get Swordmaster money right away. Very strong, but I very much prefer revealing it for those VPs that you can get, so that's super interesting to get. Very strong, especially for the ceiling of that card. Generating VPs is always nice. Then we have Chom Directorship. Chom Directorship is a card that is basically useless once it is in your deck. Unless, I mean, I've put it next to Opulence because it could combo together technically. You could reveal it for 3 Solari each time, and this is half what you need for Opulence. So that's not too bad, but more often than not, you buy it for those 4 bumps, obviously, and then you kind of try to trash it. But those 4 bumps is insane. This definitely, more often than not, is worth an early reveal, because you can consider this as being 4 actions, 4 agent actions, without the resource or bonuses that you might get from visiting. So maybe not for full actions, but definitely at least for half actions. So we could consider maybe it's 2 actions, but it could be 4 VPs. I mean, if you're missing influence on every faction to maybe get your friendship and or alliance, that's basically 4 VPs, and it is the only card that can generate 4 victory points at once. Then we have Chani. Chani gives you a water on purchase, has Fremen access, otherwise city and desert, which is also not too bad. It is a Fremen card, and it reveals for 2 persuasion, which is good, giving you also a bit of additional flexibility there where you can retreat any number of your troops. So that's not too bad. Good little add-on, very high floor in my opinion, but ceiling is not crazy high. Still gives you a water, so that's also not too bad to get. Then we have one of the most crazy cards of the game, Tleilaxu Master. Tleilaxu Master basically guarantees you almost to get to that end of the research track, because you reveal that card, you get 2 research actions. Nothing in the game gives you 2 research actions by itself. To get 2 research actions, you would need to maybe graft a Bennett Tleilax Researcher, which we saw in the previous episode, with an experimentation. That gives you 2 research actions, but you need to draw them together and graft them together and play them together. Here, you just need to reveal that card. It's busted. And once you reach the end of the track, it's still very useful to reveal it, because then you get 2 draws from revealing it. So that always creates some nice little surprise, because you maybe reveal with a 6 persuasion, your opponents are like, yes, he cannot get a Spicemouth Flow. Wait, I have Tleilaxu Master in hand, so I now click on the research action, draws me a card. Click on the second research action, draws me another card. And the funny thing is, if you don't have anything left to draw in your deck or in your discard, you buy a liaison, costs you 2. You click on that research action, it draws you that liaison, gives you back the 2. So basically draw liaisons for free. You buy a liaison for free if you'd like to. Or the voice, or any card basically that costs 2 and reveals for 2. You can do that before maybe buying that Spicemouth Flow. So that's a good mechanic to remember as well. Whatever you put in your discard, you can draw it from this, provided you reach the end of the research track. And if it's not enough, if you don't need that for the Spicemouth Flow or whatever, you could combo it by playing it actually and acquire a card that costs 6 or less, because why not, and put that in the hand if you're already at the end of the research track. So if, let's say, you're in combat and you need that Worm Riders that costs 6, that gives you 4 swords, or maybe even an additional 2 if you have the alliance, well, just go for it, and you pump up your reveal thanks to this. It's really very strong. It's absolute S tier. Carryall is not so strong, to be honest. It is from base game, allows you to double the base spice you harvest with this agent. So not whatever has been added by the maker, not the bonus spice, just base spice. So there's some edge cases where it can be useful. If you send it to create flat when you have 2 water, it gives you at least 6 spice, so that might be a highliner plus whatever bonus there is on top. So that's really good, but it is very rare that you do that. Maybe once a game, to be honest, maybe maximum 2, but you might want to do it when you don't draw that card. So it's not so great, to be honest. Very low floor, because it also doesn't reveal for very strong persuasion. 1 more spice here is fine, but not crazy. And the ceiling is, well, basically going great flat with it, I guess. And we have Treachery. Treachery is similar to Power Play in the sense that it gains 2 influence instead of 1, but trashes this card. But it has an unload effect, where basically you can get 2 troops and they are deployed immediately in the combat. You don't have a choice for that. They are deployed by default, but it's so good. If you buy that card early in the game, I would encourage, if you're not too pressed in getting an alliance, to actually reveal it or flip it with a Truesayer or a Holo Projector if you have that. Flip it and get some value out of that effect, because it's also, it's very strong to get some additional troops in the combat, either for value, so to get a 3rd place or a 2nd place for quite cheap, or for additional strength in trying to win that fight. But obviously, absolutely play it before the end of the game, so manage that carefully to make sure that by round 6 or 7, when you see it, you play it. Still Suits Manufacturer. This is a very strong card when you have the Alliance. Otherwise, it's still not too bad because it provides you a water, so similar to Steel Guard, you go Hardy, you get it back, or you go Research, you get one back, so that's not too bad. But when you have the Alliance, then it becomes ridiculous. Because basically you have 3 agent turns. Usually that means you need to play 3 cards. But imagine with this card, you can go, let's say, Steel Suits, get 1 water here, another water from Steel Suits. You have the Alliance, this card comes back in your hand. Next turn, you go Research Station with this card. It can. You get a water back, by the way, as well. You draw 3 cards or 2, depending if it's Immortality. This card comes back in your hand, and then maybe your last turn you go Hardy Warriors with the water you got paid back each time you played it, and then you got that money, that card back in your hand again. So basically Spice must roll pretty much guaranteed. If you have another Fremen card, it still reveals as well for 2 Spice because you play it, you reveal it because of the Alliance, and so on. So when you have the Alliance, absolutely busted, very high ceiling. When you don't have it, it's not a bad card, still gives you water here and there, still Fremen Bond active if you don't play it, but it's not crazy high floor. Then we have Guild Accord. Guild Accord is the card that infiltrates Spacing Guild, and on top of that allows you to go Highliner for 4 Spice instead of 6. So that's pretty nice, and on top of that it could reveal or be trashed or discarded for a water plus 3 Spice if you have the Alliance. So half the cost of your Highliner, or actually 3/4 of the cost if you go Highliner with that card, because it costs you only 4. So that's pretty nice. The problem is if you don't have the Alliance, it only reveals for 1 water, so there it becomes a bit weaker, so the floor is not crazy high. Still a good card nonetheless. For Humanity is an interesting card, gives you access to Bene Gesserit, especially, as well as green and yellow, which could also be useful. Gives you a bump, so you could get double bump on Bene Gesserit, and that's more often than not what you do, because later in the game, or I mean ideally as early as possible, but usually not so possible too early, you would like to reveal that card because it has quite a unique way of getting victory points as well. You could drop down 2 influence somewhere to get a VP if you have the Bene Gesserit Alliance. So go for that Alliance. If you have a Spy Satellites, that's great, because then you can convert every extra influence you have on other factions into an additional VP. If not, well, it's still good. Take back your friendship, go for a VP, and then maybe you can get that friendship back before the end of the game. Then you would have created a point. If you don't get it back, no big deal. You still converted a VP into another VP. So this is a VP that cannot be taken back, and the friendship, you can try to go for it again. So very interesting still mechanic there. Still reveals also for 2 persuasion, so very high floor, and pretty high ceiling as well in terms of it creates VPs for you. Ixian Engineer also has a unique way of creating VPs for you. If you have 3 or more tech tiles, you can trash this card to get it, and while you play that card, you can get techs on its agent effect. However, it reveals for no persuasion, nothing else. So I would not buy that card unless I already have at least 2 techs and I know that I'm gonna get the 3rd tech before getting that in my hand. So I would say very low floor because you don't want to buy that in any circumstance, but it can have a pretty high ceiling because it gives you a VP. However, compared to Opulence or Guild Ambassador or For Humanity, Sayadina, it's only 1 VP. This action is not repeatable. You trash it once, you get it once. Then we have Lietkynes. Lietkynes is also a very unique card, and we've talked about her when talking about Guild Bankers, which gives you a discount on Spicemas flows, because this card gets a nice combo going for that, because it reveals for 2 persuasion itself, pretty high floor already, but it also gives you 2 persuasion for each other Fremen card you have in play. So whether you revealed it or replayed it, 2 persuasion for that card. So in fact, every liaison you have in your hand or that you played is, that you have in your hand, not that you played, is worth 4 persuasion, each of them. That's crazy. I mean, you can easily see reveals of 20 plus persuasion if you have a strong draw turn and a bit of luck, obviously, to gather all those Fremen at the same time as Liet. On top of that, if it wasn't enough, you get an Emperor bump by just buying that card. Again, gives you a bit of an action there, often worth an early reveal if needed. So yeah, very high floor, pretty high ceiling as well. Then we have Gurney Halleck. Gurney Halleck is a bit of an underrated, more often than not, to be honest, but it is a very strong card. The only drawback, I would say, is the fact it only has city access, but it still makes your deployments pretty heavy on a city because it gives you an additional 2 troops plus a draw. Often used on Arakeen or on Research Station to combine those draws and flip through or cycle through more of your deck. So that's pretty strong. But if you don't get to play it, no big deal, because it still reveals for 2 persuasion, very good. And you could still get those 2 troops, paying 3 Solari, you could get those 2 troops and deploy them. So pretty high floor as well, and the ceiling is good as well, because this could definitely win you some combats. And we have Imperium Ceremony. You know how I feel about the 3 persuasion reveal card from Immortality. Very, very good to reveal. So very high based already, very high floor. It gives you an Emperor and Spacing Guild access as well as the tag there. So that could be comboed nicely with Interstellar Conspiracy or other cards that way. It also gives you Landsrad access, so that's not too bad. And it has the hand draw passive effect there, because you can look at the top cards of the Intrigue deck, keep one, put the other one back on the top. Very strong, very interesting, but more often than not, you will reveal it. Then we have Long Reach. Long Reach reveals for 1 persuasion and intrigue, so similar to Thufir Hawat or Embedded Agent. Not the best, but not too bad, to be honest. The intrigue on reveal is still pretty good, but more often than not, you would like to play that card. However, you need to be able to craft it to something to ignore this condition, or you need to have a Bene Gesserit card in play, in which case it would have green, blue, and yellow accesses. Best combo with that card, and I think everyone is aware of that, is using Gola, because Gola replicates that same agent box. However, Gola has city access by default. So you can send Gola Long Reach to a city, and then there goes the Mayhem, because you can choose 2 bumps, and then you can choose 2 bumps again. So this could be 1 bump on each of them, 2 double bumps on 2 factions, 1 double bump, and I mean, you got me. You can choose basically 4 bumps, twice, 2 by 2, basically. Very strong, very high ceiling for that card, and it can obviously go then on a city with Gola or by itself, and that Emperor bump could mean extra troops if it reaches the Alliance bonus. And then the last card here is Occupation. Occupation is from Immortality as well. It reveals for 0 persuasion, so that puts it a bit down in my kind of floor definition, but it still reveals for a water, spice, and a troop, so that's alright. Not perfect, but alright. What can be interesting to combo it with is, for instance, if you have a Sardaukar Legion or a Rapid Mobilization, something that allows you to deploy troops from your garrison. Well, buying that card allows you to get troops in your garrison right away. So this could be some synergy that you could see, some kind of combo. Otherwise, playing that card is pretty nice because it has basically the Thufir Hawat accesses, everything but green, and it allows you to draw a card and make whatever zone you are on combat zone. To be honest, this, in my opinion, does not add so much value because yellow, I mean, yes, on shipping maybe, otherwise it's combat, city is combat, Fremen is combat. Where it could be nice is if you go selective, then you draw 3 cards and you can still deploy, so not lose your combat momentum by trying to go Spiceless Flow, so that's maybe something. The other one is you can make Conspire combat zone as well, so there you get 2 troops, so it's basically a better version of a Hardy Warriors, and maybe if at the same time you reach that Emperor bonus as usual, it's another 2 troops on top of that. So yeah, those are the kind of combos you could see there. So the ceiling is not too bad, the floor, however, is not overwhelming. So let's now place the cards on that matrix that you should know already by now. We've spent quite some time on it, so let's just go in the same order as before. So power play has a pretty high ceiling because it can be a steal of an alliance, and a reasonably high floor as well, because I mean it should give you a VP, so I would put it somewhere here, to be honest. There we go. Lady Jessica definitely comes up there. Maybe somewhere here, again, as usual. It's not to the, I mean, we could imagine it being higher than Web of Power as well. It just, they're all around there, basically. Those cards are all dependent a bit on your game, but they're all very strong. Sardaukar Legion, I think doesn't have a very high floor, so I would rather put it somewhere here, but it can be nice to get, so I'll put it somewhere there, I think. Although floor is maybe a bit higher than Smugglerthopter, I'll put it there, yeah. Or, yeah, somewhere here. Yeah, doesn't matter that much, let's put it there. Worm Riders has a lower floor in my opinion because it's revealed for 0 persuasion, but a pretty nice ceiling. Somewhere here, I would assume. Then we have Replacement Eyes. I really like Replacement Eyes. I think it goes somewhere there as well. Yeah, let's put it somewhere there. Dissecting Kit. Replacement Eyes are similar, so maybe even... yeah, I mean, around there as well. Lower ceiling, I guess, because Dissecting Kit could generate multiple beetles. That might be better for you. Satellite Ban, I'm not a huge fan of its floor because, again, it reveals only for 1. And you might not be able or willing to play that often because once you get your Fremen and Guild friendship, that's it. Except if you go for an alliance, obviously. Ceiling is not too bad, though. Maybe something around here, I would say. Reverend Mother, somewhere there, I would say. Can destroy Spiceman's flows for your opponent, so that's where it's pretty good in terms of ceiling. And the floor is very high with that 2 persuasion reveal. So maybe... it has a higher floor than the voice, I would say. But I'm a bit stuck here. Let's... yeah, I mean, again, not to the... yeah, let's just put it somewhere here. Okay, let's do it that way so that it's still higher than the voice. And this one should still go down a bit as well in terms of floor. A bit higher than voice, but somewhere here. Yeah, doesn't matter to that. I know I have issues with that. I try to look at it and then I'm like, no, this should go there. And when I say no, it doesn't matter. It's rather to remind me to not spend another 15 minutes now on replacing the other older cards. Thufir I would put somewhere here. No, high, lower floor than power play, a lower ceiling but higher floor, so somewhere there I would say, probably. Becomes quite crowded. Stilgar doesn't have a crazy ceiling, so it's probably somewhere there. Floor is though pretty good. Maybe this one goes a bit higher and this comes here. There we go. Full-scale assault, I mean, if you can afford that, it's a pretty good card to get, definitely. Ceiling is pretty good for the combat power. Floor is also pretty good for the reveal and the dreadnought you get on purchase already. So let's maybe bring those a bit higher there to make more space. I think it comes somewhere here. Maybe withdraw a bit down in terms of ceiling. Yeah, there we go. Kwisatz also comes up there. It has a high floor. Ceiling, I'll put it a bit down because of its opportunity cost still. To get some value out of it, you need time. So it's not something that is always going to be crazy good. So actually, never mind, it should be the opposite. Shouldn't have a very high floor, but a pretty high ceiling, yes. Could be an alliance steal, could be interesting in that regard. So yeah, somewhere here, I guess. Then we have Shai Hulud. Shai Hulud comes somewhere here in that gamblish area, in my opinion. Could have a high ceiling for those swords and everything, but maybe not as high either. Maybe somewhere there, yeah. Also for the trash, it can set up some nice combos. Keys to power is rather on the floor level, no crazy high ceiling. So maybe just somewhere, something reasonably placed here. Or actually with all the others here that also reveal for 2 persuasion and have some nice little effects. Still brings you to Highlander though, so it should come technically somewhere here rather, I would say. Yeah, it becomes crowded. Pyro de Vries, high floor by definition, not very high ceiling. So I'll put it here, I guess, with 3 persuasion on reveal by default. It's a very safe card, a pretty good card. Maybe still here for the potential on the intrigue. Yeah, let's put it there. Appropriate, has a high ceiling and has a pretty high floor as well, so I would put it somewhere there. For those stacks you can buy, for the additional shipping action. Yeah, let's put it somewhere here, I would say. Embedded agent doesn't have such a high floor maybe as others, but has a bit of a ceiling thanks to that Bennett. So probably somewhere there. Yeah. Boundless Ambition, I haven't really played that card because it's a promo card. Seems to be rather on the ceiling side, I guess. I wouldn't know exactly. Let's put it maybe somewhere here. And Esma has a really low floor in my opinion, because it might hurt you when you don't need influence anymore with the Spacing Guild, and it reveals for 0 persuasion, but it can set up some nice plays potentially to draw as well. So I would put it somewhere here. Somewhere here, yeah. Opulence definitely goes a bit higher in terms of floor than Guild Ambassador, because it still reveals for 1 persuasion and it might give you an edge for that Swordmaster. So I would put that somewhere here. I still prefer the floor of Sayadina because of the additional accesses there and the potential reveal as well that might make her ceiling a bit more attractive, but Solar is easier to gather and you get that on the reveal, so I think the ceiling of Opulence is still a bit higher than Sayadina. From Directorship is not always useful, so I wouldn't put it on the high floor, but it can have a crazy high ceiling. I would put it somewhere there, I guess. I mean, 4 VPs at once, it could be, so that could break the ceiling, to be honest. Let's go there. But when you don't need that influence, I mean, it's more a denial move in that case, so it's not a very high floor by default. Chani comes similar to here, a bit higher in terms of floor, a bit lower in terms of ceiling. Could probably come actually somewhere here. There, because of the lack of agent effect, I would say. Tilax Master goes in that bunch as well. I'll put it also somewhere there, basically. It doesn't mean it's the absolute best, again, but it gives a bit of an idea of those zones. Carriol is in that gamblish situation, doesn't have a very high ceiling because best is just to gather as much spice as possible. Has a pretty low floor because it's only going to yellow, only reveals for 1 spice and 1 persuasion. I'll put it somewhere here, I guess. Maybe even lower, somewhere there. Treachery is higher ceiling and higher floor than power play, so something here. but pretty close to each other. Steel suits manufacturer is definitely on the high ceiling, not a crazy high floor, but it's still not too bad. Gets you water, gets you some nice accesses. Somewhere there, I guess. Guild Accord as well, rather high ceiling, but not a crazy high floor, rather on the low floor side, to be honest. Maybe something here, I would say. For humanity, pretty solid in terms of floor. The ceiling is still VPs as well, so it should go up there somewhere. Floor is also not too bad for the 2 persuasion, so probably something here for that VP potential. A bit higher, similar floor than appropriate, maybe a bit lower floor than appropriate. Also, to be honest, the additional bump, and let's put it here and take appropriate a bit down just for readability. All right. Fiction engineer is definitely on the gamblish side, low floor, but could have a high ceiling for a VP basically. So I'll put it somewhere here. E18 has a high floor and have a high ceiling as well, but it needs guild bankers to really have a higher ceiling. So it's more about guild bankers than Liet, to be honest. Otherwise, it's a bit hard. You could still get to 2 Spiceness flows at once, so it's maybe still a bit disrespectful to put her down there. Maybe. But in terms of floor, it's actually not as crazily good. So maybe it should go somewhere here as well. Maybe I drop full scale down a bit. Okay, a Gurney is very strong, high floor. Ceiling is maybe not as crazy as others, but it still could still come somewhere here as well, I guess. Maybe this way. In my opinion, has a bit of a higher floor than a Reverend Mother, because you can always get that value out, and a bit of a higher ceiling, I guess, thanks to the VP combat potential for VPs, so that's not too bad. Imperium Ceremony doesn't have a crazy high ceiling, but a pretty high floor, so I would put it somewhere there. Long Reach is rather the opposite, not a crazy high floor, but a very high ceiling. Probably somewhere, maybe rather here though, because it has no accesses, if not for Bene Gesserit combo or for grafting. So yeah, and occupation, probably somewhere here. If you see that card, you play it, you probably don't reveal it. So it still has a pretty high floor thanks to all those accesses. But ceiling is actually not so crazy. So maybe somewhere here. All right, there we go. That would be the map. You know what? It makes me think of the meme of the crazy detective being like this with his map behind him. So yeah, I'll probably flash it on the screen so that you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, that would be it for that list. Maybe one last thing I could do is adding some shapes to really do some lines where I consider it being S tier. Probably somewhere here. So yeah, that's probably the line for S tier. Well, the E18 should also go in there. There we go. I'm probably pretty happy with that. Then we would have A tier. A tier is probably something around there. Or actually opulence. So they're not perfectly parallel, but as I said, it's not like a perfect representation because it also obviously depends on the games and everything. But that would probably be how I see it. This would be S tier, this would be A tier. Then we would have strong B tier somewhere here, and then everything else here is very situational. Doesn't mean you should never pick it. Doesn't mean it's a bad card, but it's maybe not good as often as those would be. So yeah, that would be it. As usual, I drop a link in the description of the video so that you have access to that map. I will quickly zoom in right now, but you would be able to do that yourself by just visiting the link. So here we would have everything that is feeling a bit gamblish / high ceiling, low floor. Here we have niche, so that would be low floor, low ceiling in my opinion. These are the safe picks. Those are low ceiling, high floor basically. And then we would have the high floor, high ceiling tending towards S tier up there. This is high or A tier basically, and these would be high B tier. Steel suits manufacturer probably would also come into there, but yeah, you basically got the point. It's not perfectly accurate, but it is what I've come up with so far. So that was it for the ratings and or explanations, strategy guide kind of for all and every card of the Imperium row for base game, Immortality, and Rise of X. Let me know obviously in the comments how or if you enjoyed that, and if you have anything you might disagree or that you want to add. Very curious to hear about your inputs on that. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you maybe for a future video, maybe on one of my lives. So subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch. That helps me a lot. And I hope to see you very soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.